Perfect. We are live again. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Grafana Campfire Community Call, October edition. And I'm your host Usman. And today we got something very interesting, which happened actually just like few days ago in Germany, and in Germany, where in Munich. And the topic was about, or the conference was about, the Prometheus or the PromCON, which is really one of the unique conferences where I think mostly the Prometheus maintainers, developers arrive, talk about what's new, what's exciting, and what they are working. And in this call today, we're going to discuss about what's going on with the Prometheus and the community, how Grafana Labs is working with Prometheus or with the integration to make the user experience better. And also, we might see some cool demos. We have something planned for you today. And I will go with the introduction. So myself, my name is Usman. I work in Grafana Lab as a staff developer advocate, and I have been working closely with the open source community. Right now, I'm working mostly on documentation and learning journey, which is fun. So documentation is something we need, and I think community users love our documentation, and it's an integral part. And along with me are two very specialist, I would say, an expert guest sitting today. So, Carl, I think you know, some of you know already, have seen it, and also Gautam. But let us do their introduction in more briefly. So, I hand over first to you, Carl.
Thank you, Usman. So my name is Carl Bergquist. I'm one of those OGs Grafana Labs. I've been here for ages. I recently had my 10-year celebration. I spent all of my time in the Grafana projects. Like, we do so many things at Grafana Labs these days, but I've always been around the Grafana project. And I first got in contact with Prometheus 2016 when they had their first Prometheus conference in Berlin. And that's when I met the OG Prometheus team, and I, I really like that group of people. Like, it's very monitoring first, pragmatic, friendly group. So I've been sticking around that project for quite some time now. Not engaged in the Prometheus project itself, but like making sure that Grafana works well with the Prometheus project. And that's how I met Gotham in Munich, 2000. I think that was 17.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Gautam. I'm a Prometheus maintainer, but I haven't been writing a lot of code recently for Prometheus. But I've also been actually involved with the Prometheus community since 2016, when I started using Prometheus in the summer of 2016. In 2017, I started contributing to Prometheus as part of an internship. And yeah, like 8 years later, I'm still around, and I recently helped organize PromCON. And yeah, for my day job, I work at Grafana. I've been at Grafana 7 years. Well, I thought it was a long time, and then Carl said 10 years. And yeah, and I wore a lot of different roles and hats. Like, I was doing a lot of engineering around Prometheus, the time series database, or hosted metrics. But I've also worked with the OpenTelemetry community, put on my PM hat for a couple of years, and now I'm back as an engineer. It's been 3 months since I was back as an engineer, and oh my God, I love it.
So that is the secret. That's why you're not writing the code these days.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I must say about one thing about Carl. So I actually met Carl first time face to face at GrafanaCon, and I still remember, like, we have this round table panel discussion, and there were a lot of questions on every direction. And Carl was there, and he was such a expert. Like, I know this, I can answer this, and we were like, okay, we should have people like Carl, because when you work so much, you know the concept or the background of why this is working or what we are looking at it. So yeah, so I think, yeah, both of these experts have definitely an expertise in Prometheus, but also in Grafana. And yeah, let's kick off the discussion. So before we discuss like what is Prometheus or what's going on, let's talk about PromCon. So maybe Gautam or Carl, or maybe Gautam, you can, because I remember you are also the organizer, so you can talk a little bit about PromCon. How was it, and what you did, what you find interesting, and so on.
Yeah, no, PromCon is the annual Prometheus conference for like Prometheus and users. We use Prometheus users and maintainers to come together and share about what we've been doing and what are all the new developments or how people are using Prometheus in new and exciting ways. And yeah, it's an amazing conference. Like people have been consistently coming to it again and again, and it's actually a small and cozy conference. So it's organized by the maintainers themselves, and we try to keep the ticket prices low and accessible, and in general the vibe is very chill. It's actually a very special conference for me personally because I gave my first conference talk in 2017 at the same venue on the same stage. So yeah, like I was just looking at a YouTube video of that talk, and I'm like, holy shit, I had a lot more hair back then, and I looked like a baby. But like, yeah, it's been happening, I think, since 2015. So it's like the 10th PromCon this year, and I think that is very special. And yeah,
And I
I think
think, sorry,
yeah,
or
something
yeah,
I just want to add there. Like I do agree that it's special, and it's special because there's so many experts there. But also the atmosphere is very, very friendly. Like you can be on stage and be a beginner, and that's fine. We all want to hear from everyone at this conference, and that's what makes it very unique, and that's why I want to keep going there. And I would highly suggest it for someone new in this space, or if you've been long in this space. This is one of the best conferences in the monitoring space, except GrafanaCon, obviously.
yeah. No, I think I totally agree. I was also there on at the PromCon this on the day two of this one, and yeah, it was pretty exciting to see so many people who are working in the community and very friendly. And I think Gotham, if correct me if I'm wrong, Prometheus conference is like it never get like a break or a pause. Even during the back in the days of COVID, you guys organize like a virtual conferences, like it always remain alive. Is it correct?
I think so. I don't know if we did it on both the COVID years, but I'm pretty sure we did one virtual conference. Let me quickly check. 2020, 2021, 2020. Yeah, it has always happened. Like from 2016 to 2025, I can see all, like, in the footer of the website, you can see the links for each
Yeah,
of those. So it happened each year.
yeah, and I mean this shows the commitment from the community. Like they want it, and the organizers says like let's do it. And this is where you see the passion from the community. Like they want to use, they want to build or improve it better. So this is amazing to see because not so many conferences have like a journey where there is a break or a pause and then they continue again. So yeah. But that's pretty cool about PromCon, and I think let's talk about what's in the Prometheus community. Like, what's was the highlight of Prometheus conference? And yeah, over to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we didn't have any big announcements, nothing like a Prometheus 4.0 or anything, but we've launched Prometheus 3.0 a year ago, I think September or October, so roughly a year ago, and that was a big release, and we've been basically continuously improving upon it. Like we've kicked off a lot of features, and we started we basically continued improving them. One thing I want to add is native histograms are now stable. So if you're unfamiliar with Prometheus histograms, they kind of help you understand the distribution of data. They kind of help you know, okay, there's like 10,000 requests that took like between 9 and 10 seconds. There's like 5,000 requests that took like between 1 and 2 seconds. And there's like 100,000 requests that were like less than 200 milliseconds. So you can understand the distribution of the data. But before native histograms, you have to pick the buckets. Like you have to kind of say, okay, I'm actually interested in the buckets between 0, 200, 500 milliseconds a second and stuff like that. And now you pick buckets, and then maybe you do a new release, and suddenly these buckets are not relevant anymore. Maybe it got faster, maybe things got slower. And this used to cause some problems. And also, when you have a wide distribution, you needed to have a lot of buckets, and that used to cause other performance problems. But with native histograms, we kind of fixed a lot of this. You just kind of define roughly what resolution you have, and we automatically scale up and scale down the buckets based on the distribution of the data. You can have really high resolution, and you can actually render videos as heat maps that Beyond has done. But yeah, like native histogram solves a lot of the problems that like the previous classic histograms used to have. We've been working on this for 2.5 years, I think, or more actively, and they're now finally stable. So we're not going to break any of the APIs, so you can go ahead and start using them.
I think it's super nice, and it sounds a little bit more sophisticated and hard to learn, but it's actually the opposite. The classic histograms are harder to operate well and like keep working with. So this is a big step up for usability for all of the Prometheus users. I have something else I want to share that we did in Grafana related to Prometheus, and we announced that at Prometheus PromCON as well. So let's see if I can add this day. So we added, or we massively improved, I would say instead, the ad hoc filter in Grafana. So the ad hoc filter in Grafana with Prometheus.
Sorry, Carl. Sorry, I'm really interrupting. Can you just zoom in? It looks nice, but if you can, yeah, perfect. And please continue.
So the ad hoc filter allows you to drill down to any dimension rather than having to predefine what you want to filter by. Classic template variables in Grafana, then you have to do, like you have to decide up front if you want to filter by cluster, alert state, and so on in your query, and then we do string interpolation at query time. Doing all of these decisions up front means it's harder for people to share dashboards, and also you might be in edge cases where you didn't think about how you want to filter these metrics up front, and then you have to jump out to explore or other pages of Grafana. With a new filtering feature in Grafana for Prometheus, we load the times or the labels you can filter by dynamically. So when you click on this, we figure out what labels actually exist for the time series in the dashboard, and then we only show them as options here, instead of the thousands of labels that was earlier suggested. And when you pick one of these, by the way, all of these works really well with the keyboard as well, so I'm just going to use the keyboard. When you pick one of these, your options is also going to be limited to the option that really exist in the Prometheus data source. And in the previous version of ad hoc variables, it pulled all of the different options instead of just the one that is really relevant for you. And when you keep drilling down to the time series like this, you also get fewer and fewer options. So this is a way of working more dynamically with dashboards and being able to share dashboards between organizations. But of course, if we go into the panel itself and look at the query, it doesn't contain any of the labels that we use to like send to Prometheus in this case. These filters that we apply, they are rewritten at runtime. And that is the power here. We disconnect the dashboard definition from what you're actually seeing and experiencing right now in Grafana. Because if you go to the query inspector, which is a great tool for understanding what's actually going on, you will see that these are inserted before sent to Prometheus. So I think this is a big shift in Grafana and Prometheus, because we're now going to be able to share dashboards easier and with less friction. And it's going to be a long journey to backfill a lot of dashboards, but now we have the tools to do that. And I'm very bullish on that, even if it's going to be quite a journey there.
And Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, is this feature available already in the latest version? Ah, cool. Okay.
It's been behind a feature flag for over a year now, but now we turn it on by default.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing this. This is really useful because I remember like filtering out those labels can take time, and yeah, making it like as easy as this really helps for users to find what they are looking for. And I really love like you are just using the keyboard. Yeah, that's the most important part especially for users who are like, okay, Linux or Mac, like that's all we need.
Yeah, no ClickOps here.
Cool. Um, so yeah, thanks for sharing these new features or uh, what's uh, what's there already. I think the next topic is about something about OpenTelemetry.
Yes. Yeah, basically we've made a lot of progress, and we also spoke a lot about open telemetry at the conference. And after the conference, typically all the developers and maintainers and people active in the community, they get together for a developer summit in person. We basically spend 9 to 5 just discussing different topics, and trying to build consensus, hammering out differences, and figuring out the roadmap. And a lot of the discussion has focused around open telemetry over the past year or so. So for those of you who are not aware, open telemetry is a new ecosystem of instrumentation libraries and protocol that kind of helps you instrument your applications. The idea is there are like these mature open source instrumentation agents and libraries, and you instrument your application once, and then you can send the same telemetry to any vendor you want. So if you are on APM vendor 1, you don't need to actually change anything in the application. You just change the config of the router, which, or like a collector which is managed centrally. Like you change the config in one place, and you're able to kind of fork the rights to another APM solution or an observability solution, and you can compare and then switch easily. Like you don't need to go and re-instrument thousands of applications or like ask your developers to do that. And OTel is gaining a lot of popularity for a very good reason. Like this resonates, and they built something really cool. And now, Prometheus already has its own ecosystem of like instrumentation and collection, and we are seeing open telemetry also gaining adoption. And we're trying to understand and become better at supporting these open telemetry users. But as we started doing this, as we started implementing features in Prometheus that make sense for open telemetry, we're also kind of had a little bit of a conversation around like, okay, what is the are we I would say Prometheus made a few choices because we believed they were better, and now with OpenTelemetry, we feel like we are walking them back a little. For example, let me quickly share my screen. Share screen and then window. Yeah, if you can see my screen here, basically Prometheus is a pull-based monitoring system. Essentially what happens is your applications are instrumented with telemetry, but Prometheus sends a request to request those metrics, and every 60 seconds or 15 seconds Prometheus continuously collects all of this telemetry and stores this. Whereas typical monitoring systems before Prometheus were push based. Like the applications had an endpoint where they pushed all the metrics, and yeah, they basically kept pushing the metrics either ad hoc or on a regular interval. And Prometheus was pull based because we fundamentally believe it's a better way to monitor systems. There are a few advantages. Let me quickly also pull up the FAQ doc for Prometheus that kind of explains this. We have one of these popular FAQ items that says, would you rather pull or push? And we believe pull is better. Basically, one thing is your application is always exposing these metrics. So if you want to understand what's happening with your application, you can also start curling or running Prometheus on your local machine and getting those telemetry to understand what's happening with your application. You don't need to kind of depend on a central monitoring system or set up something complex to do this. You can just curl, and I've done this many times to understand how many requests happened or how many times a certain event happened or things like that. But I think what is more important and interesting is pull will help you kind of easily understand if your target is up or down. So for example, let's say you're running a simple API server, and there's like 10 replicas of this API server that are serving requests. It's really hard with push to figure out that one of them is down or one of them is not starting up or one of them is having issues. The reason for this is if it's having issues, if it's crashing, if it's running out of memory, and if it's unable to push, you basically don't know if the system should have 9 replicas or 10 replicas. It could be auto scaling, right? Like maybe one of the replicas went down because somebody scaled it down. Like with a push system, you don't know if the 10th replica is actually down for a good reason, because it shouldn't be running, or if it's down because it's having issues or not. With pull, what happens is we kind of already know there are 10 replicas running. Either you configure it manually that these are the 10 replicas, or you kind of look at the runtime like Kubernetes to understand how many replicas should exist. And we know that there are 10 replicas. Okay, here's the IPs of them. Let me get the metrics from them. Oh no, this 10th replica is crashing and I can't collect the metrics. And Prometheus then can easily say, okay, this target is down, it's having issues. It generates a metric called up and sets the value to 0. And then you can easily write an alert, says up equals 0, send me an alert. So you know that something is down. And this kind of health check is really hard to do with a push-based system. And this health check kind of saved us, at least me, being on call many a time. Like when we do a new release and this new release is crashing, and immediately, like within a few minutes, we get an alert that the new release is having issues. And this is hard to kind of replicate with with push-based.
I'd like to add here as well, like
Yes, yeah.
Prometheus really exploded at the same time as Kubernetes, because when we added Kubernetes, it made it easier for everyone to dynamically schedule workloads. We like pods going up and down constantly, and with a pull-based system, that is easier to catch problems in. If you have a push-based system in Kubernetes, you need to do the extra dance afterwards of should this be running or not calculation, and compare that to service discovery. And I think this was one of the killer features in Prometheus, to be honest, to make it align with Kubernetes and the rise of containerization at the same time.
Yes, we used to also get a lot of questions early on, like why is this pull? Because there was no other pull-based system. Okay. And again, we even wrote a blog post in 2016. Like a lot of concerns were like, oh, with pull, maybe it doesn't scale. And we have this really, really good blog post. One of the interesting thing about the blog post is also accidentally DDoSing your monitoring. Like, you could have like a bad deploy that just floods your monitoring system with push and can take it down. But with pull, we know, okay, if this is sending too many new requests, let's just not scrape it. Or like if it's just in too many metrics, let's not scrape it. Like, and we had a talk in PromCON itself about like collecting data with hotel collector, and it's really hard to understand if you're having less data because the hotel collector is having issues because of a DDoS, or because the applications are actually sending less data or not. And that's another thing that is solved. Now, with 2018, 2019, 2020, as we kind of grew, we didn't get this question anymore. People started understanding that pull might actually scale, might actually be better. But now with OpenTelemetry, people are going back to push. And we were like, okay, what do we do? We thought pull was better, and now we have to support a push-based system. We had this interesting discussion, and I think the conclusion was we believe pull is better, but we're not going to be on a high horse and say you should always do pull. Like there's good use cases for push, and there's good reasons people choose push. So we want to kind of support both push and pull, push with OpenTelemetry and pull with the Prometheus clients, so that people can make the trade-offs and choices that they want. With that said, we also wanted to kind of highlight that, okay, we believe pull is better, and here's some use cases why it might be better. And we want to also do that. Like, not saying push is bad or wrong, but yeah. Oh, we also have a comment from Basti, who says Nagios was also pull. I was a student in 2017, and Prometheus was my first monitoring system. So I did not know enough about Nagios. So yeah, okay. Thank you, Basti.
Cool. I think Gautam, you actually gave us like a complete one-on-one learning about push versus pull. This is actually a very common question also asked in our community forum, like what method should we use? And understanding now and sharing this link, I think that will help. I do have a question. I'm not sure if I'm in the right place when it comes to 𝙀𝙁 and Prometheus. So, as a new user for Open, like I have been using Prometheus for a while, and I'm pretty comfortable in using it. I know how it works, but like maybe you can share some guidance, like when someone should really use Prometheus, and when someone say like, okay, we should try 𝙀𝙁 approach.
That's a really hard question to answer. um, like, if you're looking for efficiency and simplicity of instrumenting your applications and adding custom telemetry, I think the Prometheus SDKs and ecosystem is very good at that. However, with 𝙀𝙁, you also get like really good auto instrumentation APM style agents out of the box. So you can just, if you're running Java, you can just drop an agent and you basically instrument the whole app. And the other big advantage of 𝙀𝙁 is it also does traces and logs, while Prometheus is focused on metrics. So if you are running a high scale system and you're really interested in highly efficient and simple to use metrics, I would use Prometheus. And Prometheus gets you a long way in terms of like understanding your system and kind of like observing it and monitoring it and things like that. But if you need traces, if you need some of this auto instrumentation uh, and ease of use, like auto magic instrumentation, like 𝙀𝙁 ecosystem stands out. So you need to kind of look at your requirements, your apps, your runtimes, and make those choices.
Understood. Yeah, that makes sense, because like as if you are a developer and you want like a quick access to see what's going on in your application, yeah, then 𝙀𝙁 might be the best choice, because you don't deep dive into like setting up all the configuration details. But Prometheus, as score on metrics, can give you more insight, like how is your application is performance look like, and where are the bottlenecks and so on. Thanks for sharing this.
Yes. I just want to add, no matter you pick the Prometheus client libraries or 𝙀𝙁 client libraries, you can still store all your metrics, even if they're from OpenTelemetry, in Prometheus, and you can have a great experience.
Nice. Nice. And yeah, let's continue. I'm sorry, I also
No worries.
forgot where.
I mean, one of the things I wanted to kind of also highlight is that like I've been working on this OpenTelemetry Prometheus compatibility problem for over 2.5 years. That was when I was like, I just started putting my PM hat on, and I kind of like collected all the problems of storing and using these OpenTelemetry metrics in Prometheus, and help kickstart like a Prometheus 𝙀𝙁 working group to just to make sure that people instrumenting with 𝙀𝙁 have a great experience with Prometheus. So yeah, oops, put the long link. Crap. 1 second. Where did I put this link now? Sorry.
So we we
1
also
second.
got. Okay.
Yes, found it. Sorry, multiple browser windows, and I'm struggling. So we published one blog post about 18 months ago called Our Commitment to OpenTelemetry, where we kind of said we wanted to be the default store for OpenTelemetry metrics. And this is basically a lot of the work that we've been doing over the past 18 months to kind of like ensure we close a lot of the gaps and usability issues with OpenTelemetry metrics in Prometheus. We've done a lot of this. We had two amazing talks on this work. One focused on delta temporality by Fiona, and one focused on, in general, all the improvements we've made by Owen and Arvo at PromCON. The recording should be up soon. Yeah, so that's something like, essentially this has been 18 months, 2 years worth of work trying to bring the ecosystems together, and I'm quite happy with the current state of things.
Nice. I think we got a question from one of our users, and the question is about like how does the Grafana alloy fit in the mix? It can also script as an exporter on, say, like on a host, and remote write to Prometheus.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. Essentially, if you look at Alloy, you can kind of see, like, it was the Grafana agent before, and then we became Alloy, and this is a natural evolution. So Prometheus has a really solid ecosystem for infrastructure monitoring in terms of the exporters. You're able to monitor all kinds of systems. There's, like, I don't know, 7,000 different things listed on one page of all the different things you can monitor, including, I mean, sometimes your TP-Link routers, for example, and their stats, or even like your CSGO data somebody just showed, or like the 3D printer data and stuff like that. I mean, that's on the fun side, but even in, like, at work, we have a really solid ecosystem for infrastructure monitoring, like the node exporter, MySQL exporter, help you understand all the different infra components running in your systems. OpenTelemetry, on the other hand, focused on application monitoring first. So they had a really solid hold on the application monitoring side of things. And with Alloy, we tried to bring the best of both, like application, like the OTel support, also the mature infrastructure ecosystem of Prometheus together into one binary. Um, and yeah, now coming to the question, how does Alloy fit into the push versus pull? You can, as you've said it, Alloy scrapes it, so it pulls metrics and then pushes them to Prometheus. Now, the cool thing about this is you can also push to a central location and you get all the benefits of pull. So Alloy also knows that there need to be 10 pods or 10 replicas, and it scrapes those. It can see that something is down, set the up to 0, and then push to a central location. So you still get your pull-based simplicity and health checks while also having this central push-based mechanism. So that's also, like, I think Alloy highlights also how this can work at scale.
And that I think that's a really good like middle ground where you use Alloy to scrape to get up, and then I have one centralized place for all of the metrics. Because if one of the downsides of Prometheus when you get to a certain size is that you're gonna need to run many Prometheus, and then you need to figure out how to connect all of them. And there's like different solutions for this. Like you can use tunnels, you can use Mimir, but I think the end user experience of having one data source or like one canonical place to go look, I think that's important when you scale up your organization. Because the more engineers you have, they're not going to be interested in figuring out like which Prometheus service should I go to. So to me, that is definitely the sweet spot of having the agent knowing if things should be running or not, and then one place to look.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for asking this good question. Perfect. We can move along. I think we still have some more topics to discuss. Gautam, are we still gonna discuss on some more on the OpenTelemetry development from the last
I
year?
want to kind of end OpenTelemetry on an interesting note. Like, this was also one of the interesting conversations that we had. OpenTelemetry is traces, like, first, like, it started its roots in traces, and it kind of helps unify traces, metrics, logs together into kind of like one solution. And we said we wanted to be the default OpenTelemetry metrics backend. Now the question was, does a metrics only backend even kind of like align or like vibe with the OpenTelemetry users? Now we had I think essentially by just choosing to do metrics, we've optimized the hell out of this use case. Like, Prometheus is an extremely optimized, extremely efficient metric store, but there's still people who have enough telemetry, including us at Grafana, that make Prometheus struggle. Like, there's so much telemetry out there, good telemetry, bad telemetry, but telemetry. And with OTel, you actually have more metrics, not less, because it provides a lot out of the box. So yeah, like, you can build a general purpose store, but it's going to struggle for the metrics use case. At least it's going to struggle more than Prometheus will. And by being a great, extremely efficient metrics backend for OTel that you can easily hook up to your log store or traces store and kind of help build good workflows, I think Prometheus can still resonate and stay relevant for the OpenTelemetry users. And that is our focus for the next year. Understand what are these workflows that people are looking for in a metrics backend, and focus from a UX perspective on making this happen. Yeah, that's
Nice.
basically everything for OTel. Yeah.
No, I think this actually I had this question back in the mind because when I started my journey as an open telemetry user, I actually have a Java application, and if I use like Prometheus, I know what I'm getting. Like, okay, they are metrics, but with OTel, it was very easy. Like I can get logs, metric traces, but there was also a lot of like telemetry data, which I was like confused why this is coming from, or like I don't need this right now. It's good for maybe further investigation, but doesn't make sense right now. So it's a very, very interesting point. You have to find the balance and see like, okay, does we need this all of this telemetry data, or we should focus on the core or the essential part for now?
Yep.
Nice.
There is a lot of bad telemetry out there.
Yeah, I think we also had the PromCON. There was a lightning talk like how you can like remove some of your telemetry or metrics like which you do not need, which was also very interesting. Like if someone knows, oh, these are all the bad metrics which we do not need, and just make usage of CPU and memory higher. So just remove it. Okay, moving on. So, Carl, do you want to discuss something about what's new in the TSDB, the time series database?
I'm actually gonna let Gautam dig.
Oh, Gautam, okay.
Because I don't have the technical depth there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this also is because of OpenTelemetry, as you will see soon, for a little bit. But yeah, so Prometheus is a single node system. We want like you basically log into a system, dump the Prometheus binary on it, and say /Prometheus, and then basically Prometheus runs on that node. You can give it more memory, more RAM, I mean like more CPU and more disk, and you can scale Prometheus vertically. But Prometheus is not something that you can say, I'm going to have 10 nodes, 10 replicas, and Prometheus is going to like, automatically rebalance and figure things out between itself. The reason for this is because Prometheus is more than a monitoring system, an alerting system. And we need alerting to be as reliable as possible. So Prometheus made this choice that, okay, rather than build a distributed system, let's build a very reliable single node, extremely efficient alerting focused system. And that's one of the reasons why Prometheus never chose to become a distributed system. The moment you become a distributed system, you get a lot of problems. With that said, again, people basically used to run like a Prometheus per namespace or Prometheus per cluster. And then there was this big ecosystem of projects around it, like Cortex, Thanos, Victoria Metrics, Mimir from Grafana, that let you kind of like, you send all this data from individual Prometheuses to a central system that is actually distributed and scalable. And now you have an extremely reliable alerting system that's sending you all the alerts at the right time, even if your remote network-based distributed system is broken. But you can also then query them all the metrics together using this ecosystem of projects. Now, as the data started getting bigger and bigger, the ecosystem, like, basically now they're dealing with a lot more scale than a single Prometheus. And they're dealing with like billions of metrics and billions of active series. And they started running into problems around like querying them efficiently. And they started storing this in S3 buckets. And the storage that we built for Prometheus assumed SSDs and local disks. So we do a lot of different random reads, and it's fine for the single node use case. But it's not fine for like, when you're trying to get a lot of data from S3, it's nice to read, or GCS, it's nice to read one large chunk rather than like thousands of small chunks. So they ran into this problem. And what I really love is like 4 different companies like Shopify, or people at 4 different companies, Shopify, Cloudflare, Grafana, and AWS. they came together to kind of solve this common problem for the ecosystem. And they kind of like prototyped a Parquet based system. It's a columnar format that is very good for like querying. I mean, the new system that they've explored and built is very good for optimizing reads if you're storing data in S3. Yeah. So now we had this discussion of, hey, does this actually make sense to put it into the single node like Prometheus? And we realized actually it might be slower because that the trade-offs are different, but we might actually want to still do it. The reason for this is, one, like for massive scale Prometheuses, it's actually might be faster, even if for the small Prometheuses it might be slower. But the other thing that resonated is, it's because we are using Parquet, it's easy to extend and add new features to the time series database. And that kind of blew my mind. I mean, I worked with Fabian, who created the new, like the TSDB that is being used. And I was one of the first storage maintainers, and I maintained it for a year. And we've optimized it heavily. And it works really, really well. And I'm really happy about that. But the problem is, we've hand-rolled everything. Adding a new feature is a pain. Like if you want to add a new feature, you need to basically, again, like change a lot of different things. And people just don't want to deal with this. And one of the reasons we want to adopt Parquet, we're going to experiment with it and see how well it is because it's easy to extend and add new features. And a lot of these features are being motivated by OpenTelemetry as well. So I'm actually really, really happy about that. There's also plans to kind of make it a little more native for the single node use case, where it becomes a lot more efficient. But we first are going to kick off this working group, put Parquet as an experimental engine in Prometheus to see how things go, and see how easy it is to prototype new features and add new things.
Is there a way for, if this is still like in experimental, is there a way for users to test it out? Is there a link, or is it currently internal project for testing?
So it is so experimental that it doesn't exist yet. So there was a talk. I'm just going to share my screen again. And also I'll share the link here. There was a talk called Beyond TSDB, Unlocking Prometheus with Parquet for Modern Scale. This talk showed how Cortex, Mimir, and Thanos are using it or exploring it. But now we decided to put it in Prometheus as an experimental thing, but it's like 6 months away. So this is a consensus that we've come to in our dev summit, but not something that we've already implemented. Cool.
Nice. I think there's nothing much more, at least for now, in adding the Parquet. So we can move to next topic, which I think is my very close to me, or close to the community, is the alert manager and the Prometheus part. So I do have some questions also, but maybe Carl or Gautam, who wants to take lead on this one, the alert manager discussion.
I think it's going to be Gotham again. Honestly, he's the expert in this area. What I would like to say here is that I haven't been part of the Prometheus maintainer group, but I feel like Alert Manager always had a struggle having maintainers who actively work on it, and it seems like that's a shifting trend right now.
Yes. Essentially, we had a good run. I mean, Alert Manager always struggled with maintainers. That was true. But we had a good run like last year or like 18 months ago, where we had a couple of maintainers from Grafana kind of helping maintain Alert Manager. Also, this was because Grafana's Alert Manager is based on the Prometheus Alert Manager. So improving the Prometheus Alert Manager actually helps improve the Grafana Alert Manager as well. But sadly, people, again, they're shifting priorities and people move teams. And Alert Manager kind of lost those super active maintainers. And it's been a while since we had a release of Alert Manager even. And this kind of sucks because Alert Manager is a core component of the Prometheus ecosystem. I just said Prometheus is an alerting system, and without Alert Manager, you miss a big part of that. Yeah. And we had this amazing talk by Joel. Again, it's basically says Alert Manager has amnesia. Should we fix it? Yeah, like it's a great talk about some of the issues with Alert Manager and potential solutions that are being explored and stuff. But what was super interesting for us was at the end of the talk, people were just like discussing all the problems in the Q&A session, and then people after the session ended, people just like gathered around Joel and kind of had like this interesting group therapy session around all the common problems they had with Alert Manager. And now this is not a great place to be, but as part of this, we also discovered that Cloudflare and Hudson Ribbon Trading, two amazingly technical companies, they depend on Alert Manager so much, and they have internal forks of it. So we kind of brought the kind of maintainers and people interested in maintaining the Alert Manager together, and we are kicking off the Alert Manager working group again with these new community members to kind of like breathe new life into the Alert Manager ecosystem. They're already discussing what they can upstream, how they can collaborate, and I mean, there's a lot of good energy there. And again, this is one of the reasons I love open source. Now, this is an open source project, and here's two companies that are like, yeah, we're happy to do this. Like, this is a great project. We are happy to push this forward. And yeah, I think I've based my career on Prometheus and open source and a lot of open source stuff. And when I see this, I'm still amazed by how cool open source is. Yeah. So yeah, if for those who have issues with Alert Manager, please be patient, maybe a few months, and things will start to get dramatically better. I'm confident of it.
Nice. And I have a question, because this is something very close, and it has also like a history in Grafana Labs as well. So Grafana Labs also has like this alert with changes with some time. Obviously, again, the priorities were focused, and the team like have to work on different areas. But this is a common question in the community when it comes like, okay, now I have Grafana running, Prometheus as a data source. Should I go for configuring my alerts in Grafana, or should I use Prometheus? Like, what is the difference between these two, and what are the trade-offs? Like, what are the advantages of using Grafana alerts, or when you should go for Prometheus alerts? If you can maybe explain this.
I have an opinion, but I want to hear Carl's opinion first.
Okay, so if you step back a little bit, they're going to do pretty much the same thing. But and depending on your resilience target, I think you can deploy it a little bit differently. So the alert manager's job, and why it's been like able to not have a lot of attention and still do its job very good, is that it has a quite simple job, and it is take the alert signals from multiple Prometheus or Grafana instances, and then decide which is the leader in the alert manager cluster, and then send signals to Grafana IRM, PagerDuty, emails, or something like that. So it has a fairly small, simple job, and it does it well. And if your Grafana pods or Prometheus servers are starting to have problems, it's fine, and they can fail, and the alert manager should still be running. And if that is your level of resilience you're aiming for, then running that as a dedicated service next to Grafana or Prometheus is in my opinion a better option. But unless you like really want that level of resilience, or also like, to be honest, added complexity, then it's fine to use the alert manager within Grafana. So I think that's how I want to think about it. And yeah, do you have anything to add to that, Gautam, or?
Just one thing, I fully agree. Like, more components is more complexity, and sometimes the amount of complexity will also break things at certain point. Like, you need to know how to troubleshoot this. So if you want like higher amount of resilience, and you're willing to kind of put in the effort to understand and maintain the complex system, you can have a nice topology of alert managers. Like one thing we see regularly is there's like a 3 or 4 node alert manager cluster, each node in one different data center. Now, I don't know how to do that with Grafana, but it is possible to do it with Alert Manager. Now, the problem is when two alert managers have issues communicating with each other, they might send you two alerts, because Alert Manager optimizes for sending you two alerts rather than zero alerts. Being paged twice is better than being paged none. So this will give you more resiliency, but it might also make it a little bit more brittle and a little harder to troubleshoot as well. But again, these are the trade-offs that you need to look at, like how much resiliency do you need and how much complexity are you willing to put in for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one point to add here is that, like, if you have like only Prometheus data source, then obviously you can decide like what you want to go. But if you have like other like MySQL data source or maybe Postgres or something other, then I think in that case, and you are using like those data sources of Grafana, so you can use the Grafana alerting itself, because then your data source is supported for alerting, and you can like define the rules when to generate an alert, when to notify. So that's the one case where you feel like, okay, now I have like in a centralized place. If you have like more complex system or something more, or more services to check and balance.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I could change about the Alert Manager project, it would probably be the name, to like Alert Grouper or something like that. Alert Manager gets so many people confused. They think it's the alert rule evaluation system, and yeah, I might be a little bit too late for that, but that would be my top feature request.
Carl, that will break a lot of things again. We don't want it.
Yeah.
Nice. So we still have like about 9 minutes shortly. If we can do like a demo, I think we have planned a small demo. So Gautam, if you may share your screen about that home lab part, which sounds
Yeah.
very interesting, might be more interesting to look into it actually.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So essentially, I became a PM, and once one of the reasons I became a PM was because I was an engineer building all these tools for other engineers to use, but I was using my own tools, and I was on call, and I was troubleshooting my issues with the tools I built. And I'm like, I know what works, I know what we need to build, I know what doesn't work. I think I'll be a great PM. And I kind of became a PM. But then immediately I stopped being on call for my tools, and I started like you stopped using them in real production scenarios. So I decided to kind of put together all the different random Raspberry Pis I had lying around, hook them up to a home lab, run a few services on it, and just use the products that we built. And that was the kind of intention that started off, like, of why I started doing this home lab. But it became so much fun that I completely forgot about that. And now in my home lab, I kind of went a little bit crazy. Let me show you. So there should be, okay, I didn't start that dashboard, but if I
Gautam,
look
can
at,
you please
yeah,
zoom in a little bit? It looks a bit
yes, happy
small.
to, Yeah. Is it
Perfect,
better?
thanks.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to look at the Linux nodes. And if you look at my fleet of Linux nodes, there's, okay, this is, yeah, these are a lot of the different Linux nodes that I'm running. Essentially, you can see that there's a cluster of Odroids by my office mate Ben, and there's a new Pi, there's an old NUC, all these random bits and bobs that I've put together. And I now have like 13 nodes running in the system, running a lot of different services, but also kind of helping me experiment with a lot of different things. One of the things that I also do is I run Prometheus on a RISC-V board. There should be RISC-V system somewhere. Star 5 is the RISC-V system. And yeah, it's been up for 7 months, which I'm actually surprised by. But I have Prometheus running on RISC-V that's monitoring a lot of different components, including these metrics that you see on here. One of my favorite dashboards, though, is this air gradient dashboard, which shows the air quality in my office. And like, oh yeah, it basically, the Prometheus is running locally and it's connecting to the office air gradient here. And this is actually quite interesting in winter. In winter, essentially, I have to close all my windows, and then I breathe out all this CO2, and the CO2 concentration keeps rising. So I get paged around 800 ppm to open the window. Now I've silenced all my notifications, but like, I'm pretty sure I got paged here. And usually then I'm forced to open a window and take a walk and things like that. And what is really cool is this air gradient. It's an open source air quality monitor. You install it, it comes with a Prometheus endpoint out of the box. There's no configuration, it's default. And you just point your Prometheus at it and it can collect all of this data. The other interesting project that I did was actually inspired by a different project done by 𝙀𝙭𝙥𝙯, where he kind of monitored his Nissan Leaf in Loki. And that kind of inspired me to do this other thing. So I do have a Prusa 3D printer that is kind of printing things. Now, I'm not a 3D printing expert. I don't know enough about 3D printing, but like, it looked really cool. And I've done a little bit of 3D printing in school. So I was like, you know what, I'll go buy a 3D printer. And then the next thing I see as one of the accessories was like this flame extinguisher. So you put this on top of the printer, and if the printer catches fire, this kind of bursts and extinguishes this fire. And that scared the shit out of me. I was like, whoa, wait, what? 3D printers catch fire? However, again, this used to happen a lot in the past. Nowadays, 3D printers don't catch fire, but I still couldn't get myself to leave the printer on and leave this office while it's running unmonitored. So to kind of solve that problem, I came up with a very interesting hack, I would say, which is I have a camera hooked up to it, hooked up to the printer. And what it does is it basically prints all the, like, it takes a picture every 10 seconds and then prints it out to stand it out. So if you kind of look at it, it's called Prusa LGTM, and I'm just gonna do select for data, and you can see, like, these are just images that are or like image printed out as base 64. Literally, that's what it is. Like, I take a picture and I'm printing it out to stand it out, and then I'm sending it to Loki in Grafana Cloud, and I'm using a panel called base 64 to image from Volco Labs to kind of now generate a live stream of my 3D printer. So I'm essentially using Loki, the log storage, to store and live stream my 3D printing. And now I have a program that reads all this data back and creates a nice time-lapse video out of all of this. And this is like other cool, fun project I've been doing on the side. And it kind of blows me the flexibility that Grafana has, like shoved base 64, and now you have images on a dashboard. I love that. Carl, do you think we can maintain this this panel, the base 64 to image panel? Because I have a lot of feature requests.
There's some news there, and I don't know the status of it, but it doesn't seem like a massive undertaking. It depends on your feature request, but it's
because my screen is usually this wide, and I can't get it to kind of be the right dimension. No matter, like, I know the dimensions of the picture, but I just can't get the panel to be in the right ratio. So yeah, I have more feature requests, but yeah.
There's also a video panel in Grafana that you can use if you want to live stream a little bit faster, I guess. I mean, I certainly love this solution for its workaroundness, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really amazed. So you taking this image as a screenshot, and basically you're sending this to Loki, right? And
yes.
then using the base 64 panel to create the image for it from the code.
Exactly. So all I'm doing is querying Loki filtering out to just the base 64s. And then magically this thing came up, and I'm like, oh my God, Grafana is awesome. Yeah.
I think you can
that's
use Prometheus labels as well.
What?
I think you can use Prometheus labels as well. I don't know how big they can be.
They can
it depends
be
on the size of the image.
Yeah, they can be very, very big. And honestly, like I'm taking a image every 10 seconds and I'm writing like 20 kbps of data to 𝙀𝙭𝙥𝙆. And I've done the math. You can have 70 printers printing nonstop, and you can still fit into the free plan of Grafana Cloud. So if you want a free video streaming solution, you can use Grafana Cloud. The 𝙀𝙭𝙥𝙆 team will hate me, but you can.
nice. And I must say, sorry, Carl. May I go ahead, or you?
Oh yeah, go ahead. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say the other fascinating project which you did with the air quality filter. So it just reminded me that at GrafanaCon this year we had like a booth of like science fair, and we're using this sensory data to capture the air quality. And since it was jam packed, and then they did it, I think, live, and they opened the windows so that the fresh air in the event comes. So it was very good use of like, hey, we are actually using it for real for the whole event. So using this in your home is actually very useful, because at winter, yes, I don't blame you. I have the same thing, like close all the windows, and yes, CO2 level can increase.
And it increases insanely fast. So I would recommend getting an air quality monitor, Syed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all that I had.
Okay, I think we are also on time. I don't think we have any question. Let me just check. We just have a comment from a user. Thank you for loving Alloy. It's been really core part of Grafana now, and still a lot of development is going. Yeah, I think we can wrap this up. So yeah, thank you again. Thank you, Gautam, for joining us, and Carl being such a amazing admin and host today, because it was the first time Carl has like all the superpowers for the show. We may keep it for longer, who knows. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining this amazing session of Grafana Campfire, and especially asking some good questions around Prometheus and different use cases. We learn a lot about pull and push request. And yeah, check out the video recording, check out the links as well. I will share them also in the video description. And till then, we will join next time. So till then, take care and goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.